Okay, so I'm going to cover all of the requested problems from section 4, the portion that we did in class last week. I'm going to include the problems that I already covered. So for example, the first question I'm going to go over is 27. I know I already talked about it in class, but I just want to make sure that you have a full explanation on video that you can kind of replay. And let me just say right off the bat, a lot of the stuff that I'm going over as we go through 27 to 38 is going to be material that's going to be helpful on the final exam. All right, so it does help to kind of like sit through and listen to, and of course you could skip around a little bit, fast forward or skip to a portion of a video if there's a question that you thought was easy. But there are little helpful facts on just about every question that you're going to see here. So let's start with number 27 first. So for number 27, what I mentioned was the fact that you have to look at coordinates as x and y values that you can use. All right. So I mentioned that, hey, even though they're not numbers, we have to look at that and go, okay, the x value is p and the y value is r. So how can I use that information? Well, you can do substitution. So that means that you're going to have r is equal to p plus b from that first sentence. And then again, we're getting a second coordinate for the second equation. So x is equal to 2p and y is equal to 5r. We're going to use that in the second equation. So if we do substitution, that means that 5r is going to be equal to 2 times 2p plus b. And we are trying to find the value of r over p. So remember that what I said last time in class was that because they're asking for r over p, that lets us know that, maybe we don't need to find what r is as a numerical value or what p is as a numerical value. Maybe we just need to kind of like figure out like what that expression is. So right now, we have two equations with the x and the y values that we were given plugged in. What can we do with that b, right? Like, why is that b there if our value that we're trying to find is r over p? So that basically ends up being a substitution then, all right? So what we can do is, and I think I did it with substitution. So I think I believe I did was in class I said, hey, that means that b is equal to r minus p, and I plugged it in and kind of solved through there. I'm going to do it slightly differently here. I'm going to kind of use elimination here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, okay, what if I took the negative of the first equation? So that would be negative r equals negative p minus b. And then I just kind of like added it to the second equation. All right, so I'm going to do 2 times 2 is 4, just to simplify that. So you see like what can happen there? I can cancel out, and then that may be a little bit easier to kind of see, like, instead of multiple steps of algebra, how you're just going to get it down to r and p. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And I think the final thing was I said like, hey, at this point, we can solve it algebraically, or you can kind of look at the answer choices and kind of look at that as like R values and P values, and you can kind of plug it in. So I'm just going to do one more. But if you want to solve it algebraically, from here, all you have to do is just divide by P, right? So then you get 4R over P is equal to 3. And then divide by 4 or multiply by 1/4. I'm going to multiply by 1/4. And that's how you get the answer that R over P is equal to 3/4. Okay, so you have to be able to kind of like do algebra, right? But do it in a creative way. And again, uh, these things like coordinates are x and y values that you can substitute in, and then being able to manipulate equations is not necessarily just solve for x, but solve for like something like r over p. Those are things that are helpful, really helpful on the SAT. Okay, so now let's jump over to problem number 28. And this is about statistics. So as a quick review, you need to know about mean, which is average, median, and mode. Okay, and those three are grouped together. They're all about where the center or the most frequently occurring value is going to be. And then the other two are range and standard deviation. And range is just the difference between the maximum and the minimum value. All right, so we can find the range for both of these with a quick operation, right? And data sets, we can do that really quickly. You might be able to do it in your head. I think this math is certainly something like, even though you have your calculator there, we can do that. So what's happening here? The range is the same right? Even though the max and the min values are different, the range is the same. So this is another thing that I want you to be able to do on the final exam. Make sure that you can spot and do process elimination based on like, what you find, all right? Because these harder questions are going to be multiple steps, but sometimes just by doing part of it, you know enough to kind of like make a better educated guess. Even if you can't find the one answer specifically, you can become a better guesser, right? And by becoming a better guesser, you're going to get more questions right. If you have a 50% chance of getting something right, it's better than a 25% chance of getting it right. And just remember also, make sure you put down an answer for every single question. If you don't put down an answer and you run out of time, on the real test anyway, you know you can kind of cheat a little bit if you're taking the test on your own. But if you're if you're going to run out of time, if you have nothing written down or nothing filled in for a multiple choice question, you have a 0% chance of getting it right. There's no penalty, right? It's worth putting down a guess in the final minute or two. Fill out everything. Okay, so the range is the same, right? So that means that B and C are out of the picture. Well, now we have to look at standard deviation for this problem here. And remember that standard deviation, um, it's measuring how much the data set deviates, right? Deviation. It's like how far off the normal path or what's ordinary is it? And what we're looking for is basically what are the extreme values? How often do those extreme values happen? If things kind of cluster near the middle, then that means that the standard deviation is low. If there are lots of extreme values, right? Either really, really big or really, really small, then that's going to mean higher standard deviation. And I think if I kind of like look at this, circle, sometimes circle the zones in different colors, it's easier to see. In B, there isn't really a cluster in the middle, right? These values in the second data set are deviating. So the second data set has higher standard deviation. Now, because of that, all right, some people, if they started off with standard deviation, they might go and just choose B, right? Because they say, oh, I remember standard deviation. I know that in set two, that the standard deviation is higher, it's bigger, in other words, and they're just going to go off of that. But guess what? The range calculation was incorrect, right? In B, it says R2 is greater than R1. Well, we were able to, right? And this is another thing. If it's multiple steps and there's like kind of different things you can look at, you always try to do the easiest stuff first, right? So that's why I did the range first. So clearly, it's a little bit cheap, but D is the one that's correct. A says that standard deviation is the same, and clearly it's not if the values are set up differently, right? If they're laid out in front of us and it just looks different, the standard deviation can't be the same. But they are, in fact, different, right? Not equal to each other. So the correct answer is D. So I'm going to end this video right here just so it doesn't get crazy long, and I'm going to pick up on a second video.